So I just thought, okay, I'll look around, and I started reading. Well, first of all, I was amazed that there's so much to read about. There's bookshelves full of material you can read. And I started to read anything I could find that initially could prove or disprove the existence of God. Because my background is also project management, and I like to approach things structurally. So I decided if I want to research Christianity, I want to do it in 3 steps, 3 phases of my project. First step is checking out whether God really exists or not. If he does, then the second step is checking out whether the Bible is reliable. And if I find evidence for that, then I want to look into, is Jesus really the Son of God? And if you get yes on all these 3 answers, then you basically have established credibility for Christianity. So I wanted to know about, does God exist? And I started to research just about anything I could find, because I wanted to find a scientific approach. I wanted to find objective evidence for this particular question. And so I started reading whatever I could about life in the universe, about microscopic life, about how life evolves to more complex life according to evolution, what kind of evidence is for that, etc., etc. Because if you start looking for that question, looking for an answer to that question, does God exist? You easily end up in this evolution creation discussion. Why is that? Well, because if we have no other explanation for our existence, we cannot explain our existence in any natural way or any way without God, then by definition God must exist because he created us. So if you're looking for scientific evidence for God's existence, that's the area to look. Now if you think about evolution, for me when I started out I said it was like a fact, it was an established fact. But when I started thinking about evidence for evolution, I actually couldn't recall anything. I couldn't remember any of the evidence that was presented to me in high school or in university or anywhere for evolution. So I started thinking, what is evolution actually? Have you ever thought about what evolution really says? Basically the theory is, if you put the right stuff together and you give it a lot of time, then by chance something good will come out of it. It's like if you want to build a house, you basically order your building materials, you have them drop off at the building site, and the only thing you have to do is wait. Because at some point in time a tornado will hit, lightning will hit, it will rain, you have windstorms, whatever will happen, and through chance and over a long time your house will be put together. That's what evolution says. Now you can say like, that's very simplified. But I have another illustration which is closer even. I call this my frog experiment. It's a little yucky, but it gives a pretty good idea. You take a dozen frogs, you take a sterilized mixer, you put the frogs in the mixer. This is where the yucky part starts. You mix them up real well. What do you end up with? You end up with a pile of frog building materials. Right? Basically, you got all the materials there to ever have a frog. Living organisms consist of cells, they consist of proteins, DNA, proteins consist of amino acids. Long scientific story, but bottom line is, you can imagine if you mix up these frogs, you've got all these basic materials there. And according to evolution, this was the same on early Earth. And Earth was just formed. And then by lighting processes, sunlight, other kind of events, these building materials started to come together and form life. So that's the same in my frog experiment. You got all the building materials there, so how long does it take for a frog to jump out of that pile? Now, you can do this at home if you want. I also deliberately choose a dozen frogs because I want to have some spare parts. But, frankly, I mean, it's a little funny story, but basically, nobody believes, obviously, that a frog will jump out of that pile ever. But that's what evolution teaches. That's really what it is. If you look into what the story is, that's the story. And that's already like started to plant some doubts in my mind, like it's a little wild idea actually. But if you start looking for evidence, it even becomes more exciting. We actually live in an amazing time. Over the last modern science has discovered so much about the complexity of life. And all these discoveries have only led to more amazement and more questions. It has not led to polishing up the evolution model. Actually, it has put the evolution model in a serious crisis. We now know that just the planet we live on is a very special place in the universe. We no longer have a consensus scientific opinion that our planet is just one of many planets and that there will be millions of civilizations out there, which people thought like 20, 30, 40 years ago. We now have even evolutionary scientists write books about the fact that the Earth is so unique that they don't expect to find any life forms anymore anywhere in the universe, or if we find them, it's very unlikely. Why? Because there's so many unique conditions that have to be fulfilled for life to exist on a place like Earth. And if